You are listening to Down Home. In this episode, Jay and I are diving into The Color of Fear, a 1993 documentary that brings together a group of men from different racial backgrounds for an unfiltered and often uncomfortable dialogue about race in America. We'll talk about what hit us, what challenged us, and what still feels just as relevant today. We strongly suggest that you watch the documentary. You can find a link in the show notes. I'm Derek Wise, and on behalf of Jay Jones, welcome to Down Home, the Canadian experience by two black men.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk.
All right, so I ran into this. It was actually a meme, which is
really?
sounds
That's
bad.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the part of the documentary where Victor, the light-skinned brother, made a really impassioned speech about how tired he was.
The way in which American and white and human become synonyms. That why can't we just treat each other as human beings? To me, when I hear it from a white person, it means why can't we all just pretend to be white people? I'll pretend you're a white person, and then you can pretend to be white. Why don't you eat what I eat? Why don't you drink what I drink? Why don't you think like I think? Why don't you feel like I feel? God damn it, I'm so sick and goddamn tired of hearing about that. I'm sick of that. That's what it means to be human being to me. That's what it means to be white. That's what it means to be American. Why don't you come the hell over here? That's what I hear every goddamn day. And you know that I can't come over there. You know that this skin and that this hair and that this way that I talk and that I think and I feel will never, ever get included because I'm unpalatable to this goddamn nation. I'm unpalatable. You cannot swallow me. You cannot taste me. You cannot feel me because you don't want to. You think that you can survive without me, but you can't, man. You think that, hey, it'll all be fine when we just treat each other like human beings. And what that says to me is, don't be yourself. Be like me. Keep me comfortable. Connect where I'm ready to connect. Come out to my place.
Explaining himself and how tired he was of explaining the concept of racism and how tired he was. So that's when I saw that and I was like, okay, what is this? And that's what led me down the rabbit hole of actually finding it. So yeah, what did you think?
First of all, like you said, man, it was powerful because you don't see so much candidness in these topics. I mean, I know you and I talk about it a lot, and we've had conversations with other people too, like Lindsay and Kevin and different people like that. But it seemed, I don't know, it just seemed to be very powerful because they all were there, different ethnicities, and they all talked about how they felt, especially the Asians and the blacks. And with David, I believe, poor David, but they really had to sort of kind of go into him to sort of make him understand. And I just thought what caught me was the same thing that's happening today, is that people don't realize it does exist, putting yourself in other people's shoes,
Yeah, and I think it was Victor, the light-skinned brother, that was saying, his fear in society is the well-meaning people, the Christians and the people that are like, oh, and David was one of those people. He was very well-meaning.
Yeah, you could see it. He was very forthright. Yeah.
Yeah, and well-meaning, but then as this discussion continued, it started right off the bat. They were asked to describe what their ethnicity was, and David said, "Well, I'm American."
Yeah,
right? And which isn't a description of his ethnicity.
not at all.
That's his citizenship.
Yeah. What country he was born in?
Yeah, exactly. But and that's interesting because that happens here in Canada, right?
Hmm.
Like we've talked about this before about how we always go through the where are you from
Hmm. Hmm.
discussion.
Hmm.
And I I'm at the point now where I just say I'm Canadian and they can figure it out themselves.
Yeah, I mean that's all of us. Yeah, when it comes to that sort of thing, Canadian. But I don't know, man. There were so many moments um, where everything came to the surface for these men, especially the man, the not David, but the other white man who I don't know, I can't remember his name,
I
but
think his name was Gordon.
Gordon. Yeah, he was right out of the gate saying, "I'm racist."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa, well, and I thought, and as they thought, he was open to the idea of understanding, and he saw it from I mean, you can never really see it from a person of color's perspective if you're white, but he kind of understood,
Yeah.
what they had been through and what his people had been through. And the thing that I noticed, even with the white guys, like their generational trauma, you know what I mean? Because like even David with his what he talked about his father when he started to
Hmm.
understand, that had a lot to do with why he was the way that he was. He coped with it differently because he was still trying to fend off his father, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in case every time he did something he got beat. So
Mm.
that was his fear. And that was his thing that made him maybe not open up. But there were so many moments that I just saw, watching them look at each other around the room, that they sort of came to some understanding, at least with each other in those confines.
Yeah, it's like even beyond the discussion of race, for a group of men to be so vulnerable.
Hmm.
Um, like I was talking with Akila and I was saying I don't know if you could recreate this unless you had a room full of exceptional men
Hmm.
that were willing to be that vulnerable and
Hmm.
that honest because they were very honest as well.
Yeah, and that
Like,
and that that's how you get to the problem. They were all honest with their emotions,
mhm,
and they let it be known. I actually thought that today. I said, wouldn't that be interesting discussion to have today?
yeah,
Because not much has changed, especially from the perspective of what they said, and even Victor and some of the other people was the something we always talk about all the time is the institutional racism and the system racism. They all saw that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So yeah, it would be interesting to see what kind of conversation, if that could be done today. You would see a lot of similar things. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how people would be today. Like it's difficult for men to be vulnerable, especially difficult for men to be vulnerable with other men. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because it's not how we're built. Because we're supposed to push things down. But when you talk about things like this in the world, I think the beauty that I saw about it was the anger that they had.
yeah.
Bad anger in the sense of that you had to carry it with you, but that was one way it got released. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that when you talk about the concept of generational trauma,
Hmm.
uh, when Victor, it was almost like he had heard enough from David,
Yeah.
with David trying to push back and say, why are you people like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
are you people doing this? Racism is kind of your problem.
Hmm.
When Victor had enough of that and made that impassioned speech, that was almost it wasn't even at David. It was like
No.
a release
Yeah,
of
that's what it
of
was.
trauma, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And as a black man, living in Canada in North America, we've all felt that.
Hmm.
We've all felt that, and to have that release, it must have felt good for you. Could see in the documentary after it was almost like he was like, oh, and he had to put his hands in his head because of that emotional release. It was
Mhm.
almost physical, right?
Yeah.
And we've all been there though.
hmm
Whether in what the trigger is, it might be another person, it might be something that someone said.
hmm
We've all been there.
hmm
And to could we identify why that came out in that manner? I don't know if we could at that moment because we were all younger when it usually happens, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What was interesting is they were a little bit older, I
Yeah.
think, comparable to us. They must have been all 30 and up, let's say. Like
Mm.
David seemed older. He might have been in his 50s or
Yeah.
whatever. Gordon's the same.
Hmm.
Um, the one there was a Latino guy, the guy with the mustache. Well, there was two Latino guys, but the sort of slimmer build one, he said some really good things too, which I think is really cool. And even talking about how David had come around, he really did hit the nail on the head by saying, I hope that they can go forward and realize that the job that they have to do basically, like with other white men. And
So I really am appreciative that I was here. Um, it will have an impact on me throughout the remainder of my life. And I will be your ally and do all I can to stop racism wherever I encounter it.
He'll fight and he'll struggle and he'll intervene on my behalf, and I think that it'll wear off. That his ability to struggle against racism will wear off unless he has other white men with him, unless he has other white people with him saying, keep going. If David or people like David are going to depend on people of color to keep him going against racism, it won't change.
Because we've even said it too before, D man, like
Yeah.
this isn't, people have to see their role in it, because so much today is getting whitewashed.
Mhm.
And I don't even know, it could be worse today now that it's being whitewashed. And with social media, I almost feel like it's enforcing those stereotypes yet again, especially with social media, music, movies, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think we'll ever escape the cycle. But I think if you have moments like they did, where you can talk about it open, honestly,
Mhm.
try to put yourself, have some empathy, or try to walk in the other person's shoes, that's the only way we can understand. And, it could be done if that was the case. But, the old models and the old systems have to be, sort of erased.
Yeah, the that concept that tackling bigotry and tackling prejudice and tackling racism is the problem of the BIPOC community.
hmm
That's the thing that still goes on today.
hmm
And Victor actually at one point said, this is the white man's problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he has a point though. Like in order for it to truly be tackled, uh, you know, white people with courage have to
Mhm.
be the ones that, when these things are being spoken of in a certain way and they're in their groups, they're the ones that have to call out the person, say, hey, that's not great. You shouldn't really be talking like that. Or, hey, you know, why don't we look at this applicant? I know he's
Mhm.
black, he does, but he's very qualified.
Yeah.
Or if something untoward happens to a person of color, instead of just standing back, they have to come forward
And stand
and
up.
and stand up and call. Otherwise, just like I think the gentleman's name is Hugh, the Latino guy.
Mhm.
He said that it's going to continue unless people like David at the end, when David kind of came to that
Mhm.
realization and said, okay, I have to.
Yeah.
I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
Unless people like him and people around him take up this fight, because it's a fight,
Yeah.
and take people head on and say, hey, that's not good. You shouldn't be doing that. Or, let's bring this person into our community, or whatever it may be. Unless that happens, it's going to continuously happen. And that's
Yeah.
why we're in the position we are today.
Yeah, you're right.
Really.
And what you said, you hit it on the nail. And it's a very poignant word. It's a very poignant message. Is courage, like to be able to stand up against everything that we were taught. And we were all taught it.
Yeah.
And even even the conflict between the Asian Americans and some of the things that they witnessed, how they viewed the black people too, like all these stereotypes that fed and reinforced each other. You know what I mean? Especially the director. I had no idea his mother was murdered by an African American man, but he understood that, but it wasn't about. Because he said, I hope my father, because he said his father had that way of thinking that all black men murder and all black men do this. And I was just watching that when they were saying some of these things. And I was like, that's so right. Like a lot of the stereotypes are so unjust. You know what I mean? And no one really looks at the situation from what people of color really experience, and especially Asians and Latinos and even people from India and stuff like that. Everyone, all people of color have witnessed such great travesties because of their ethnicity, and it just hit so many things in the head, especially with David, when he didn't even he was so blind to the fact because of his privilege that he didn't see it, and he meant well, you could tell, but he just couldn't comprehend it. But all the differences that they said were just very good and a good way to be seen, because they were able to sort of go, hey man, but look at yourself. And anyway, I just thought it was a well done documentary. I was really shook by it in a way.
Yeah, definitely. The last point that I want to point out, when David really started to turn around, was when the director pointed out, when David was talking about the fact that people of color in the college application process were given a certain amount of points. That's actually what used to be called affirmative action. So what he was talking about was, in the States anyway, it worked. There was never really any official affirmative action in Canada.
Yeah.
But there was in the States. It was almost like an overcorrection. So they saw that there was these injustices, and affirmative actions for the college application, for example, in order for you to be considered by the application process, let's say you need 7 points, right?
Right.
So a certain amount of marks might be 2 points. Extracurricular activities is another point, so on and so forth. So people of color were given 2 points right off the bat, no matter what their marks were. That's affirmative action.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking to Akila. This day and age, affirmative action's been wrapped up with DEI, which is two completely different things.
Different things, yeah.
Yeah. So DEI is a different animal. So DEI basically is in let's say taking the college application into consideration. DEI says, okay, we're filtering down, just for simplicity's sake, we're filtering down 10 applications. All DEI says is that, okay, we're going to look at these 3 applications which are from people of color.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that they will get in.
Yeah.
They still need the marks. It's just that they're going to look at them first.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Affirmative action is a completely different animal, because affirmative action actually does lead the unqualified people being included.
Yeah.
You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
So very different animal, and I could see how he was upset about that.
Mm-hmm. No,
Yeah.
there were some points you could see, like, you know, yeah, I could see it. Yeah, it's yeah, there was just lots of good moments, and I really like how they sort of came together in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And there was the other not Victor, but the other black dude.
Lawrence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a moment of sort of release as well, when Victor sort of comforted him.
Yeah.
And you know, it's that thing. I think, especially as black men, when you look at this, as you look at it in this context, what scared me was the fact that at first, when it first started to happen, the way Victor, like, it seemed like David was the focal point of all this anger,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, that's crazy. But and what I saw was, well, hate can run deep. And it's not even David's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just putting these people together in a room and trying to hash out your difference. You have to look, quote unquote, your enemy in the eye, or not necessarily your enemy. You know what I mean? They weren't enemies, but they were different.
Mm-hmm.
And people have to understand the differences. But sometimes white privilege, I think, just overshadows any kind of going forward, because, like they said, like I think it was where he said, oh, there's so many white men in corporate America, like they're all bosses, they're all this, they're all that. So how can blacks sort of find identity and find their place? And he also mentioned that he was in corporate America, and then he saw other black people and say, and oh man, I bet you he can't wait till he's black when he gets home.
Yeah.
And sort of those things, the games that we play trying to fit in this structure, not a structure, but this world that exists. Like, it exists, it's there. So let's all say it's there, and let's do something about it, to talk about it and say, how can we change this shit, man?
Yeah.
Because it like, and this is 1994. I felt them just as much as I feel about it today in our talks, and I was like, holy shit, this is man. And even not Gordon, the Latino guy with the mustache. I'm so bad at names.
You got Hugh was the skinny guy.
Yeah, Hugh.
Yeah.
He said it. He goes, I don't know if we'll ever see it in a societal way because of how it's in systems and everything like that. And today you look at it, and that's
crazy today.
It's the exact same system. It's just done in a different way. Like, you can honestly say ICE is a modern day slave patrol, but just doing it in a different way, because they have this carte blanche.
Mm-hmm.
They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
We all know what happened to the Renee Hood. She was an innocent woman.
Yeah.
And, these guys aren't in there sent to de-escalate. They're here to deport.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So their modus operandi is just getting their orders because they have the power. I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, it is interesting to talk about Lawrence, because like our day to day, like when you are working for an organization, you are surrounded by whiteness,
Mhm.
and you have to mold yourself and act in a certain way, because we swim in what is white supremacy. Like, everything is modeled around, we have to model ourselves as what we think they need to see in order to get along.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect example for me. I'm just going to speak about one of my experiences. Was in junior high. I remember feeling a certain way about, sometimes there were some things said that obviously were racist, and names and things like that. So I remember, it's a new school, you want to make an impression, and I was getting picked on by people who were like that, who I didn't know, right? But I was like, how can I deflect this? How can I cope with this? And so, you know what I did? And it's the worst thing I've ever did in my life, but it was the only way to find some solace because no one bugged me after that. I used to joke about black people all the time, like even the stereotypes about being black. Like it was almost like I was putting it in their face so they couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
So, and I know there was the one Asian dude who said that, you know, he saw a lot of things. He was picked on. He never felt involved or whatever. He felt invisible. And you have to do what you have to do to cope. And I find that scary that people have to do that, you know?
Yeah, it happens on every day,
Really?
man.
Yeah, for sure.
You go to work and you have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And you have to it's like flexing in between roles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you have to put a mask on to be a
Yeah.
certain way when you're in front, and it's tiring.
Yeah.
It's
And
tiring, right?
It's
Like,
very tiring.
Yeah.
And you become that person to some white people, and then they view you differently. I remember some people would say, "Oh, you're not like a normal black guy."
Yeah.
I've never, to this day, known what that means. I was like, "What does that mean?" But I am a black guy. I am a black man. What do you mean I'm not normal? I can never change who I am, you know? So
Yeah.
what does that say about a person who says that?
Hmm.
You know? Anyway, I just thought
Yeah.
it was all interesting.
Yeah, it's very poignant, and mind you, this is a 32-year-old documentary.
32-year-old documentary.
Which,
You can tell by the clothes.
Yeah, I know. Huh?
I was like, ooh, did I
Yeah.
dress like that?
I don't think I was ever that colorful, but yeah.
No.
But yeah, 32 years or 31, 32 years, man. And literally, I don't know. I don't see much has changed. Like,
no.
it's, wow.
It's almost like, I always thought, oh man, I wonder if Dee and I did something like this where we got people together and just talk about it, because I just wonder what it would be like, you know, what say if we got, you know, me, you, Lindsay, Kevin, Corey, you know, and in some other different ethnicities, you know, what would our experience be compared to them, which is probably likely the same. Times have changed and they are different, but they're still the same.
Yeah, I don't know. There's almost been like a regression over the last 10 years.
Yeah, well,
that's coincided with the Trump administration.
Well,
so
I mean, that's the given right there. Like that guy is, you know, I'll say it, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really care.
No.
Yeah.
But anyway, good. Well, we'll put the link for hopefully you would have watched this documentary before you listened to our podcast or watched our podcast. We'll have the link in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
So please watch it if you haven't already watched it.
The Color of Fear.
Yeah.
Breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, simple breaking new.
You have been listening to Down Home. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
ground, simple breaking new ground, breaking new ground, breaking new ground, yeah. On a high plateau, from the one down below to the future of the funk, getting lost in the flow. Contact with the spot magex. Now it's time to flex with the force from the soul, reaching all aspects, getting deep, no time to sleep. As you reach your next phase, laying it all on the line. New trail start to blaze. It's a fire inside, a brand new path, breaking down the sum to one. Feeling free, I just laugh with the joy of a beat boy.
The song Breaking New Ground from The Breakdown.
Only to see the perfect blend, like a diamond in the rough, ready to drop a perfect gem. It's time to shine so fine to see what you find.